All right, it is time to pull the head off of this Lima 2.3 of a 96 B2300. I've got all the head bolts out. All these. There's 10 of them. For removal, you do it in reverse order. So it's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and then 2, and then 1. And you just do it, count up for when you're installing the head, so the head and the deck surface doesn't warp. You don't want any warpage, otherwise it causes, like when you go put a new head gasket on, especially when you're going to add boost like I am, it'll blow out the head gasket so fast you won't be able to turn it up, and then you'll have to replace the head gasket, and then you're going to continue to have problems because your deck surface isn't going to be level anymore. Unfortunately, I'm poor and I don't have anything that I can do to hold the camera, so I'm going to try and pull the head off one-handed, unless there's something else in the way I don't know about. Definitely didn't just step on my oil pump gear. It's not something I would do. I know it's on dowel pins. Alright, let's see if I can get a good angle of this. If not, I'll probably just cut this out. And, yeah. Guess we'll never have seen it. But in the ladder, right there, seems like a good enough place. So, basically picking up the freaking engine right now. Just goes to show how long this head's been on there. Of course, it's rotating now. I'm gonna have to get a pry bar or a screwdriver or something. Swear to God, if I hear somebody saying, "Oh, it's wrong, that's wrong," I'm gonna have a panic attack. I've got it popped out of the dowels, I think, now. Oh, it should just come off. There's one side. I just gotta get a good place to grip it. And there we have it. My hand's all dirty. I'd rather not screw up my newish foam. So I'm going to use some super clean degreaser and spray my hand off with it. Even though it's 30 degrees out, and it's probably not going to work. Because it's probably... Oh no, it's not frozen. Look at that. Look at that. Boom. Cleaner. All right. Yeah, I love Super Clean. Super Clean makes a really good product. But here we have it. This This is the cylinder head. I'd say it probably weighs probably 40 to 50 pounds. Maybe not 40, 50. No, I'd say it's probably 50-ish pounds. Fully dressed. It's still got all the valves and the rockers and the cam, water outlet, and the temp sensor on there. And it seems like my valve springs are pretty good still too, so that's a good sign. And something I didn't know before is I thought that these stock pistons were flat toppers, but it seems like they're not. Unless there's a very small chance that this motor was rebuilt. Very small chance. But I guess we'll find out. We'll see if there's any names on the side. I don't really know a huge amount about stock parts for these, but here's our head gasket. This looks like it was... This looks like factory, probably. So this very well could be the original head gasket that came on this motor. Got a lot of service cleaning to do. Yeah, that head gasket was pretty cooked on there. No signs of it blowing out or anything, as far as I can tell on first sight. Yeah, it doesn't look like it pushed anything out, so that's definitely a good sign. And the motor does turn over. By the way, I don't have the gear on it right now, but it did turn over. It looks like there's a little indent facing towards the front of the motor, so you can figure out which direction you need to face your pistons. We've got these two dowels here too for the head to rest on. Really helpful for locating stuff. Really, really helpful. Even though this motor sits flat in the engine, or in the engine bay, it's still a very helpful thing for when you're doing head gaskets. Just because it makes it nice and easy so you can line up your holes. Because you can't, it's not super easy to bend your head over and try to guess and shuffle it around, especially when you're in the engine bay. Oh yeah, we've got all the accessories pulled off. Got my oil pump gear pulled off. Still got some oil left in it. I've been pumping this a little bit. But you can see the bubbles popping out of there. And the oil that drained down the side of the block after I pulled the filter out. Which of course was seized on there. I don't know what this sensor is. I'm gonna guess it's probably a secondary temp sensor. Maybe pull some timing if the back of the block gets hot. Would be a smart idea. If they knew that might be a problem. But yeah, here we go. I'm gonna flip the head over for y'all. Right now. Again, oh my god, my blend is completely screwed. Hold on, let me try to get this cleaned up a little bit. That's a little bit better. I believe I'm gonna have to take these rockers off. Now I did see a video one time. Maybe I'll show it, maybe I won't. It's copyright. I don't think it had a lot of views, but I believe you pop these rockers out by just taking a screwdriver and prying underneath them. I don't remember which side. So I'll probably go watch that video. Because I've never rebuilt a proper motor before. The biggest motor I've ever rebuilt was a 2-cylinder Honda motor. And it was just a project in high school. So, and I never got to run it either. So we'll see how these pop off, and I'll show you. Which I figured out. That was a great snap, right there. I figured out how to pop them open. Now, what I did was I took my handy little screwdriver right here. I just kind of put her in on this side. And, oh wait, you want to probably make sure that the cam's facing the other way, otherwise you might screw something up. And I plan on reusing this cam. You just kind of pop them out, pry up, and they come right out. Nice and easy. So I figured that was a nice little trick. I should probably grab my bag so I can label this though, because I like to do that again. Look at that. Got intake number 1. This Springer-Madoo. I like labeling them just because you're supposed to put them back in the same order, and I might just reuse this whole head assembly. But I'm gonna get to work and get the rest of these pulled off and labeled correctly. I'm gonna put all the valve springs and everything in the same spot too. And look how easy these lifters come out. Nice. But yeah, I'm gonna get to it, and I'll be back when it's done. When I'm done taking the lifters and all that out. All right, now I've got all those rockers and lifters out of the way. Oh God, I'm spinning the cam out of its order. Okay. Yeah, I took this retaining plate to keep, and it sits in this little groove in the cam to keep it from having forward and backwards movement, but I need to take this coolant outlet off first, but I just figured I'd show you guys. Looks like the springs are still in good shape. I can't push it by hand, so that's a good sign. I don't think these are supposed to be super powerful springs. I mean, I'm sure I could push it by hand. I think they're only supposed to be like 42-pound springs or something, which is not good for the boost that I'm going to be running through it. Because at some point, I'm going to go to a Mega Squirt. Well, when I get this motor in my truck, I'm going to go to Mega Squirt ECU at the same time. I'm going to have to hand wire everything so nobody asks me exactly how to do it, because I've never wired anything in my life. But it's going to work. It's going to work. Trust me, it'll work. And then I'm going to get this coolant outlet out. Yeah. Also, if anybody can tell me what the heck this thing does. I think it had a ground on it at one point. Went into the head like this. I think it's an oil pressure sensor. I think. I'm not entirely positive though, because I don't know. I just haven't seen that before. So if anybody could tell me that, that'd be great. I'm gonna get this coolant outlet off, get the cam up, and then I'll flip over the head so you guys can see the valves. It'll be the first time for me seeing the valves, so I'm pretty interested to see what it looks like. I got that coolant outlet off. I actually thought it was on the block before, today. But I'm going to pull this cam out, and then we'll take a look at the valves. Oh, by the way, these cam lobes, while they look like, you can see where it's written on the rocker. Other than the schmutz I got on them, there's no problems with them. Absolutely pristine. Oh, here she comes. All right. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a good angle for this. So I just hope I don't damage my cam. You know what, actually, I'm just going to take it out. What you have to do is you got to wiggle it a little bit. And just be very careful. Make sure the cam stays straight, because otherwise you're going to warp it. And then I'll show you how to set it on the ground, because otherwise you can warp your cam and it won't go back in. Or if it does, you're going to break it. Alright. Get that done. And then we'll be back. And look at that. The cam's gone. Disappeared. Funny how that works, huh? These cam bearings look extremely good. Other than this front one. Although, that could be a little bit from me. Because these cams, it was out of a 210,000 mile motor. So, it's been in there for a little while. But, here, I'm going to support it with both sides of my legs. But, these, main bearings, I guess you could call them, the surfaces look really good. This is how you should properly set up down a cam. In theory, it'll stay still. Because you don't want it to lay on the side, otherwise the gravity apparently warps it. I've heard this, Don't know entirely if it's true, but I'd rather not risk it because I want to use this cam. Because I don't feel like tuning around a big cam when I don't know how to tune. Because this is new for me, all of it. I'll probably get new cam bearings put in anyways, maybe not. We'll see. But this head is a big girl. I'm gonna get this flipped over. And I'll show you. Look at that. We got our exhaust valve and our intake valve. It's funny, and I think I know the reason why, but the exhaust valve is actually cleaner than the intake valve. Is that a bit of metal I see? There's a bit of shiny surface on this number 2 valve. It's actually kind of cool. But anyways, these the intake valves get more fuel in them, and then they get the exhaust gas recirculation, which causes them to carbonize up. And the exhaust valves, I believe, are whiter because it kind of is like running lean, because it has the second spark plug go off as a waste spark. So once the exhaust, I believe once at the top of the exhaust stroke, it fires again. While there's not supposed to be any fuel left, so anything left is more lean, and that's going to cause this white texture, I believe. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that's how it works. I'm sure there's plenty of people who would disagree or have a different opinion about it, because that's just the way that the world works. But I got a lot of gasket material to take off now that I see this. I'm going to get all the carbon cleaned up, get any casting marks cleaned up. It actually looks decent on this head, but I'm going for big boost, so I really don't want any hot spots. So I really want to make sure that this is going to stay clean, so that there's no chance at all of it heating up so much that it knocks. Not even spark knock, just knocks. I don't want pre-detonation knock, because that's not good, especially for cast pistons, which are what I believe are in it. I will check once I take the rods and everything out though, but I didn't think that the stock ones had valve reliefs. And if it is a rebuilt motor that was built just for more reliability, then that'd be beast, but I don't think this. I think I was just wrong in my thought process. Well, I'll probably get these intake ports. I'll have to measure them with a micrometer, but not sure if I'm going to go with a bigger intake valve, because I don't think I can flow more than what this stock valve has. I'm pretty sure I can go with a bigger exhaust valve and flow more than that, though. We're already at the lip right in here with the intake valve. The exhaust valve, I think I can go a little bit bigger. Usually one exhaust valve smaller. That's just the way I've seen it on engines. I don't know why, but I think with a bigger valve, I can flow some more exhaust gas into the turbo and spool it up a little bit better, and also help with top end power. So yeah, that's all I've got for today. I'm gonna be porting these heads, or this head. It's kind of weird for me to say. I go up around V8s, and one head is not normal for me still. But yeah, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna get these valve springs and keepers out and the valves out. Probably go a bigger exhaust valve. Make sure it's got a really good valve job on it. You don't want to lose any compression, even though it's going for boost. That's a loss of efficiency, and I want an efficient but fast turbo 4-cylinder. Because I currently get 30 miles to the gallon in my truck, and that doesn't even have it doesn't have more compression. It's got a ported throttle body. I cleaned up the casting on the upper intake manifold. Didn't do the lower because I couldn't get the fuel rails disconnected, because the return line got stuck with the quick disconnect. It's got a ported throttle body, polished upper intake manifold. It's got a couple I removed 2 intake baffles, and it's got some exhaust work done, and I get about almost 30 miles to the gallon in the summertime with in town. Highway isn't great for these motors just because of what kind of RPM they turn and the fact that they're just a complete brick on the highway. But for airflow. But anyways, that's all I've got today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm just going to use a socket. I've never done this before, so I'm going to try using a socket and a hammer. And hopefully that works. If I can find my gosh dang hammer. And there it is. That's a good way to film it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to smack it with a hammer while holding the socket, and that should release keepers into it. Alright, so I just got all the intake valves off. You just have to hit the hammer with some balls, and the springs will compress. All of mine, only one keeper popped out at a time. I don't know if that's because I wasn't hitting it hard enough, or what the deal was. But it was a thing. So yeah, all the intake valves are off. And all of them have this little shiny line. There you go. There you can still see all the metal. So I think in this engine, this 210,000 mile engine, these were still sealing well, or at least decently enough. I really don't know why the truck was in the junkyard though. I mean, it went into all the gears. Didn't start it or anything. Went into all the gears. Engine, there's nothing wrong with it. I actually took a piston out yesterday and there was nothing wrong with it. The bearings were original Ford bearings and they looked like they still had 150,000 left before they would go bad on stock power. So I don't really know what the problem is, but yeah, I've got all these labeled in their bags. This is intake number 2. My rocker tried to run away in this bag, so I had to tape it up. Tried to escape. But yeah, they look all pretty decent. I can see one spot on the head. Just give me 1 second here. Don't want to lose any keepers, because I might reuse these. But there's on all of these intake valves, there's a nice old groove right in there, and I think you can see that. All in this edge, on the side where the valve comes in, all along this edge can be tapered out a bit. So it looks like I'm going to be able to gain some flow from that. Every single intake port. But yeah, I'm going to get the exhaust valves done, and then I'm going to have to clean up the head, or maybe go get it resurfaced. I'll probably have to pay for it to get resurfaced, but yeah, I'll do that after I get it ported and get the valve job done. I think I'll put some bigger valves in it too. Thinking about it. But yeah, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This happens. Why? Just why? The exhaust side is done. So here is what the valves look like. Now these ones are not shiny. I don't know if that's just a thing of exhaust valves, but I'm gonna guess that this engine was misfiring pretty bad, because number 3 was the same way. Number 3 is the only one I didn't, or the one I took out first. This is number 4. Focus. It's kind of focused, but it really doesn't look like it's in great shape. So it was probably misfiring really bad, and it had new plugs in it. Plug wires probably weren't too bad, but it was probably misfiring really bad, and the owner just didn't want to deal with it anymore. Yeah, this is really pitted up pretty decently, so I'm going to say that's probably the reason it was in the yard, is because they didn't want to deal with it anymore. They didn't want to take the time to sell it to somebody to fix it, because they tried everything that they thought they could think of that would make it worth their while. But it's worthwhile to me because I want a fast Turbo Ranger, and I'm gonna have a fast Turbo Ranger once I get all this stuff sorted. But yeah, here's the bottom of the head without any valves in it. I gotta still do the valve stems. I'm not gonna bore anybody with that because I think that's just pliers. Oh my gosh, look at these intake valves. Look how much material I can take out of there. I mean, these motors last a long time, but dang. There's so much room to be had, or so many benefits to be had. A little bit bigger exhaust valve. Oh, there's like a really big bump right here. Let's feel the short turn. The short turn doesn't feel too bad. There is a bump in there, but there's just more volume. Everything. This is gonna be interesting, especially for a single cam build. I don't know how much that's gonna affect everything, or what the flow rates of most dual overheads, but it's gonna be different. So I will be back when I'm middle of porting. Stuck some oil in the top end of this motor, just because if these are aftermarket pistons, I really don't want to screw them up. I gotta turn this engine a little bit. Give me one moment, please. So anyways, I just put some cheap oil in this. I had to take a breaker bar to turn it before with the head on. It actually, I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell in the video, but there's still cross hatching there. After 210,000 miles, there's no oil on the plugs. None. Maybe on number one, a little bit. Actually, on my current motor, I saw a bit on both of the plugs on number 3, but only on the intake side of number 1, there's a little bit of what could be oil. And I just put a little bit of oil because if these are aftermarket pistons, I really don't want to screw them up. But watch this. See if I can do it with one hand. Boom. One hand, I can turn this motor over very, very, very easily. And I'm very impressed with the fact that it's able to do this at 210,000 miles. And I really don't think that this motor's ever been pulled before. Really don't. Just based on just what I saw at the junkyard. I didn't film any of that. Regretting it a little bit. But this thing turns over like butter. I mean, there's a little bit of a tight spot, but it's got 210,000 miles on it, and it's got no oil in the bottom end right now, so. Honestly, I'm really, really, really impressed. Really impressed. I mean, if these are aftermarket pistons, that means the motor has been rebuilt. And then I'll need to worry about whether the cylinder walls are still true, but. See if I can turn the flashlight on. It looks smooth, but if you can see that just a little bit, there's a little bit of cross hatching left. So I understand now why these motors go for 300,000 miles. Ford did a really good job on the design or the engineering inside of the motor. Not a huge fan of some of the things that they did on the outside in terms of getting the stuff to do maintenance. But that goes with every engine. Every engine has its own little quirks. And here's another thing. Some of it is getting cleaned off a little bit right here, but there's not a whole lot of carbon on the pistons either, which means this engine was still running pretty decent. Now it is washing away a little bit with the oil, but I just figured I'd show you guys this before I, actually take the bottom end apart. I'm really excited to see what I find, and that's just a little extra for this video.